on the live stream. We got a lot to talk about. We haven't been on it way too long.
Yeah, it's been a month.
Alrighty, here we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of This Is Our Year. It's May 3rd, Friday. Doug, how are you doing?
Hey, man. Doing well. Happy May.
Happy May.
Made myself a mule.
Very nice. Drinking seltzer water because it's 2 p.m. here. And I don't want to get drunk on a Friday at 2 p.m. because
Oh, come on. Why not? Let's go.
I have a kid.
Let's get some vodka in there. Yeah, it's Miller time here, right? 5 on a Friday. Things are good. Weather's turning around. Jesus, we didn't do our draft show, man. We didn't do our Islanders playoff show. Hey, but we're here. We're in better health, right? I hope. And let's get back at it, right?
Yeah.
Or let's not. We could talk about bullshit today too. I'm down.
We'll talk about a bunch of bullshit. We got a lot to catch up on. I will say
we got a Tommy here, right out of the picture. So I'll take a little sip.
There we go. You've already made your drink. We don't have to talk about where it's from or put it on some imaginary map in the back.
We're sponsored by Goslings today because that was basically all that was left in the fridge. I got a little backup. I made a whole I got my whole mule kit here in case this goes into Friday. Drink number 2. I don't know where these guys are at, but Goslings can't go wrong when there's nothing left in the fridge. And there were no limes, so we called an audible and used grapefruit, and I got to say it's kind of working.
Okay.
I don't know if that's really weird, but I'm not a grapefruit guy really either.
Yeah, I actually don't mind grapefruit in my older age. I don't really care for Moscow mules.
Really?
But if I'm going to drink booze, I'm just going to drink vodka with soda water and a lime, or a grapefruit wedge would be nice too. I think they call that a Greyhound. No, they don't. But
yeah, they do. But look, hey, I wanted to at least make some effort. This is a really high intensely produced show. I don't want to be like I just rolled out of bed to show up here. So cheers to you all. Yeah, I wasn't even sure if we're going to do a show today. So where do you want to go? What do we talk about?
Let's first talk about why we've been absent for the last pretty much month. We did the opening day show, or couple right after we didn't hit fucking whatever that guy's name is that we hate from the Brewers.
Oh God, it's so long ago. That wasn't Yelich either. It was Hoskins. Of course, it was Reese.
Yeah, Reese Hoskins. Okay. Yeah, we didn't hit him properly, and we were very pissed off that the next day we didn't drill the guy and with Severino, and we lost 5 in a row to start the year, and all hell was breaking loose. And now here we are, May 3rd, and we're basically a 500 team. I think we're like 15-14 or something, or 16-14, something like that. Starting a series against the Rays tonight. Just called up our number 1 pitching prospect, Christian Scott, who should be pitching tomorrow in Tampa, and has risen meteorically up the top 100 charts.
He really
made it all the way to 62 last week on, I want to say Baseball Americas, but maybe it was Keith Law's top 100, and had started the season right around like 100. So he's made some big jumps. So let's talk about the Mets for a little bit and just do some housekeeping there. How do you feel 30 games into the season? What's your outlook? Has anything changed? You feeling the same? You feeling better? You feeling worse? Where are we at?
I'm feeling the same, and if you remember, I was a little optimistic, maybe more than most. And let's chalk up Scott as part of that optimism. But I still think that we're going to get a surprise this year. I think I have a feeling that they're going to add to this team, especially if they hang in. Now, some of this is smoke and mirrors, so I definitely understand the skepticism here. There's some problems underneath the surface with this 16 and 15 record for sure. Um, but real quick, like the bullpen has been outstanding. Other than Hauser, the starting pitching I think has been as I predicted, like okay, right? And we just need the bats to heat up a little bit. But I mean, this always happens to the Mets in April, right? They just sucks hitting in Flushing
Yeah,
this
it's
time of year,
cold.
right?
It's cold. You know my rule. I don't go to a New York baseball
Right.
game until June 1st.
I don't know if you
I
noticed that, but like people are noticing, like, why are the Mets attendance so low? You know, like, I think we were what 19th last week or something, and
because
it's
it's
like, have
cold.
you been to
Nobody
Willets
wants to
Point
sit
in April?
outside.
Yeah,
Yeah, nobody wants to
yeah.
sit outside in
So
58-degree, windy, gloomy, overcast weather and watch a 1-0 fucking pitcher's duel because that's what you're getting
yeah,
these days.
it
So,
is what you're getting, which is surprising, right? You thought this would maybe be a high scoring team
well,
on the
I think,
surface, or high scoring games
yeah,
back and forth.
we were hoping for it, but I think Stearns has accomplished a lot in his first few months, and I will say, like, they're right where I thought they'd be. I thought they were a 500 team. Still think they're a 500 team that's gonna like fight for that seventh seed. Our starting
Yep.
pitching is been okay. You know, Buto's been a little bit up and down, which is to be expected. If that guy can finally like settle down and become our fifth starter, that's great.
He did this.
Um,
He did last start. I think
yeah,
he's
last
been
start he
great
was
overall.
good, but the few before that, you know, he had a bunch of walk. He gets himself into trouble with walks. I think
Sometimes
against
he's
this,
young, man.
and I think against
Doesn't he
that
have the?
Dodgers lineup, he was overwhelmed, and
Do you
so
want
he
to
was
pitch
just
against that Dodgers lineup?
no,
I
I
don't.
don't. I don't. I don't. I'm not. Look, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
you know, if he can keep doing what he's doing and keep, you know, progressively getting a little bit better, I think he can be a fifth starter for us for
I
the
do
next
too.
3 or 4 years. The guy's only
I think
26,
that
throws, has good stuff, and you know, he's not going to cost us much for the next 3 4 years. That's exactly what David Stearns wants, right? Um,
absolutely. I don't want to overhype the pitching lab, but my God, you're seeing it all over the organization already.
yeah, totally.
Uh,
And then with
from Jonah Tong all the way up to Jose Buto, right? And
yep,
it's. I think it's going to be fun. That's why I am optimistic. I think there's going to be help coming from within and from the outside, and
totally.
that's what we all talked about when Stearns bought the team. And the rebuild of the organization was always going to take a few years. And I'm not saying it's we're ready to pop like the Astros the last decade or the Braves, but wow, yeah, like the progress is there, right? Exhibit A is Christian Scott pitching. Who thought he was going to debut within a month?
Where did we get Christian Scott? Like, was he like a third round pick, a fifth round
He
pick?
was like a guys. Don't jump on me, but I thought he's like a little lower, right? Like seventh rounder or something.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fifth round pick he went to Florida. So he pitched in college. He was a fifth round pick. He is 24 currently, and he will
Yeah,
turn 25 in June. So he's right on his age projection, like where he should be. It just took a little bit longer, right, for us to notice because he was a fifth round pick, right? But guys got some
only
built.
3 years in the minors is good for these
Yeah,
guys. So yeah, he's
yeah,
ready.
he's ready. It's, I mean, he's been lights out since like middle of last year, right? So
yeah, pretty much.
everyone's been on this like meteoric rise. I'm excited to see what he can do in Tampa tomorrow. That's always, even though they're right around the same 500 team right now, they're always a tough team. Kevin
Always
Cash
tough. Always,
has his team ready to
yeah.
play always.
And
So
it's just it's a weird place to play and a seemingly kind of tough place to play for some reason, at least for the Mets.
because
So
there's
it's
nobody
not very
there.
often, right?
There's nobody there. I'm
And
sure there'll be more Mets fans and Rays fans this weekend. So
yeah, and that's why I love them having this guy debut. It's like the least pressurized MLB stadium, and it's like a quick trip from. Well, I'm sorry, he was in Brooklyn. No, he was in Binghamton. I'm sorry, but other than that, he's familiar with Florida. I think it's going to be a nice, comfy debut. I hope
yeah, I hope so too. I hope we can hit the ball because that's been the real
that would be
problem
nice.
lately. team is just not. I mean,
I know
that Cubs series, did we
a lot
score
of pitching duels.
Did we
Yeah.
score more than 8 runs in the whole series? I don't think so.
I mean,
Think it was
yesterday
like,
they scored 7 of them. So,
yeah, and I think didn't they get shut
um,
out in one game and then they scored one
right.
run in another game? Like
It was like
it
3-1
was,
every game. Yeah.
yeah,
It was tough.
it was not fun to watch. But again, April
Um,
baseball at City Field, right? What do you
yeah.
expect? And
Catch the fever.
catch the fucking the flu,
Baseball like
more
it ought
like
to
it.
be. Yeah. Catch. catch.
But I will
Uh,
say, to reiterate your point, pitching lab is working, and also not having 8 of the same fucking relievers throwing the same repertoire coming out of the pen
yeah.
is working because Adam Ottavino is once again dominant because not everyone else in the bullpen throws the exact same shit that he throws. So now he's the only one in the bullpen that throws that shit. And now we got a sinker baller. We got a guy with a probably best Reed Garrett, best split finger
Reed Garrett,
base,
team MVP. Have we not mentioned him yet?
best pitch in baseball
Yeah.
to date for 2024. His split finger, opponents are betting 0.49 against it. I think they've had 2 barreled balls hit. I saw this. I can't take credit for it,
Statcast.
but I saw this stat somewhere. Like literally 2 barreled balls all season. He's given up, I think, 2 hits off of his splitter all season, and he's gotten like 25 out of 25 swing and misses. Like it's a strikeout pitch, and it
Yeah,
is
the
working. And
numbers.
he is a revelation. And another guy, like I don't know if Stearns picked him up or not. I
He
think he
didn't.
was in the yeah. I think he
But to
was
his
the
credit,
Epler guy.
he was part of that churn and that, the flotsam or whatever you want to call it that was at the end of the roster in the Billy Epler era. And Stearns had to like wade through all these guys, the Phil Bickfords of the world, right? And I noticed that Garrett hung on the 40 the whole time. It's kind of like, all right, like this guy was like, I kind of remember him from last year, but yeah, as you mentioned, he's been a revelation. He's completely changed his approach. Well, not completely, right? He just they've just been telling him just like believe in yourself, almost. Which whatever. But whatever they're doing, it's working. It's the same thing that happened with Buto. He was not confident until maybe the end of the year last year. Maybe when Garrett was coming up too. So I don't know what was going on, but God, 0.54 ERA, 5-0, and a save. I mean. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to jinx it, man. And
No,
one thing I was
the
one
guy's definitely cruising for his first ever All Star appearance, and
oh geez, I know, which is.
deservedly so.
But here's the thing: small sample size. It's May 3rd. I've seen these Met bullpens come out to racing starts before and then get overworked, wear down. I think Mendoza is doing an okay job at this point with at least the workload. It seems like there's some kind of plan. They're not afraid to throw guys into situations. So we'll see. But man, we've already lost. It sounds like we've lost Brooks Raley for the year, which sucks. And
Oh, is that a definite? I thought that they
it's
shut
not
him
a
down.
definite, but like I'm sure you saw the it looks bad elbow news, which you never want to hear. And then Drew Smith not being there, being out isn't great. Guys are kind of dropping like flies already. So, yeah, Stearns is going to just have to keep doing what he does. But so far, so good, right, man? It's been great.
Well, I'm glad you feel it's been great. I feel like
sorry for that hard hitting analysis. It's Friday and
no, it's fine, dude.
It's a long week.
I just want it has been a long week. It has been a long week, a churn, dude. I am so tired of being sick. So this is such a nice reprieve to actually be able to use my voice and not be coughing my face off.
Yeah, welcome back, brother.
Thanks, man. So yeah, I think we can put a pin in that. I will say, I was slightly frustrated with Mendoza after one game, at 1.5 games. I think he's been doing a good job. I think he's been handling the team very well and balancing the lineup and getting guys in and out of the lineup and using the bullpen well. And, I liked when he gave, I forget who was it, Quintana, that he gave the ball to go, let him get the last out, his last start. He went out with, 2 outs in the eighth
Got into the
inning
seventh, I think. Yeah.
or something like that. And he said, I want to get this last out. And he let him have it. And the guy got it. And like, we haven't had a manager like that in a long time. We haven't had a manager like to, you can talk about all the analytics and like all the front office being the front office, like henchman or whatever, but there's something to be say about feel and touch. And when you go with your gut, I've gotten a long, long way in life following my gut. And so it's good to see that they're giving him the ability to do that. And he's doing a good job of it. His gut's not bad so far.
So far, it's not perfect, is it? Do you think Terry Collins was using his gut at that World Series game we were at?
Definitely.
Anyway.
Yeah, hey man,
or he got bullied into letting him come out for the ninth. I don't know.
I don't know what the case may be, but we probably weren't winning that one after we gave up that home. Who was the closer that gave up the home run in the first game?
Benitez. Yeah.
Benitez.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Benitez. I'm thinking of the 2000 World Series. My God,
no, dude.
Because I believe he
was that Familia.
Benitez blew game one.
Juris Familia.
Yeah, it was Familia.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fucking rinse, wash, repeat.
Well, see, anyway. It's the same shit. Like game one of the World Series again. Remember, what was that guy's name? Timo Perez didn't run out the Todd Zeile double.
Yep, awesome.
At Yankee Stadium, game one.
Awesome.
No, real quick. It's cool to see Frankie be the hero yesterday, and that goes back to that Mendoza thing you mentioned. He's like, I'm going to give you the first half of the day off. You're kind of not feeling great, and we'll try to get you in if we need you. And he did, and he came through. And Frankie's having his slow start again, but I will never say anything about the man again. He's proven himself. I'm not worried. Anyone you're worried about on the Mets?
I would like to see Pete fucking get that average up and hit a couple of home runs with people on base.
Contract year, come on.
Yeah, man, he's struggling. There, he doesn't look himself, and I think it's because he wants to be here and he wants that contract, but he needs to just buckle down and hit his 40 homers and his 100 RBIs and bat 260, and let's go. Because you finally got some protection in the order. Sterling Marte's back. Nimmo is back. Yes, let's go Mets. So enough about those guys. So let's talk about some other stuff. The Islanders season, we're going to just get this over with, ended unceremoniously earlier this week. And wah. It's a fucking tale of two seasons, man. It was
a miserable year overall. It wasn't fun.
No, it wasn't.
There were certainly moments, but god damn, this was a pain in the ass year. And
I mean, we lost 26. Is that the including the playoffs? 26.
I lost track
when leading by 2 goals in the third period.
In the third, I lost track. It was a nightmare.
It was. I'm fairly certain it was 25 in the regular season, and one
in the
playoffs.
3-0 game. Yeah,
dude. After that game, I stopped watching.
It was. And I'm a diehard. I'm sick. I'm an addict. I watch every second almost. But it was becoming work. It was like, oh, here we go again. And yep. and the result basically for the most part, and you still watch and I got numb to it a little, but it is who they were. They're a flawed team. They're a second tier team.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to talk about them at length later. I don't really want to right now. Thanks, boys, for the effort. But
the only thing I'll say is, did you see the Scott Mayfield news?
No.
So he broke his ankle on opening night.
Yeah, that makes sense. I heard that was the rumor.
So he broke his ankle on opening night. When he came back, it's like I said, he came back too early. It was not fully healed.
No, he's
so he
awful.
had to have. I think he had to have a second surgery, and that is why he had such a bad year. So, I guess the one silver lining on that is it was year one of a 7-year deal. I don't think he's cooked. I think
Okay.
I think he just really had some really bad luck, and he really tried to fight through it. And he,
He's cooked.
I don't think he's cooked, Dougie. I think you're trying
They're
to.
they're they're shaking the fryer. Going to dump him out on the paper towels.
I just don't think he could do what he was
Well,
used to
look,
doing. And he was
sure.
trying to cut corners, and I only say that it's not in defense of the guy or the team. I just think we got him for another 6 years. He's coming back next year. He's gonna
Stop saying that.
He's gonna take back over his role of the third line right-handed defenseman, and I think he'll be fine there.
He's going to clog it up for the next decade.
I mean, he'll be better than Robert Bertuzzo. He was not any better. He was slow
Awful.
and old, and he was part of the reason why we lost quickly in the playoffs. I'm not going to blame it all on that guy. It was a fucking complete team effort. But
it's the NHL has changed. You need to be able to skate and move the puck on the back end, and the Islanders have serious problems with that. They got really lucky getting Mike Riley.
Right.
For free.
Who I think is a must resign.
Yes.
Because we got to get that guy. Him and Mayfield. Then we don't need to worry about. I'm just going to do this real quick. We don't need to worry about that. The back six. The six defensemen for the foreseeable future. And then Bolduc can hopefully be our seventh guy and let Aho go do whatever the hell he's going to go do. And hopefully Sorokin gets his confidence back because he's shaking, man.
That wasn't fun this year either. I'm telling you, it was a rough year. So
it was a rough year. So we don't have to spend any more time talking about that, but I think it was worth getting out of the way.
No, fair enough. And it might as well. Did you watch the Knicks series? Because I have been, and it's been entertaining. It's been great.
I have stopped watching basketball for the last few months because it was just such a slog trying to watch Brooklyn do anything. So. And I am not a Knicks fan at all. So you tell the audience about it, because I do think we should touch on the Knickerbockers doing good things by beating the 76ers crybabies and getting them out.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Before we move on, I do need to say one last thing.
Yeah.
And we talked about this about the Islanders. We talked about this a little bit offline. The Carolina Hurricanes are a bunch of divers. The NHL needs to take notice that they flop on every fucking play, and it's ridiculous that they're getting these. I can understand if there are no calls, but there was at least two penalties and one fucking goal negated for flops in that series alone, and it was absolutely atrocious officiating. I don't think we would have won the series anyway, but it was atrocious. So
it wasn't even the refs. It wasn't only the refs. Did you see all the linesman calls, the weird non-icings, and the weird it was just again, none of that was fun. I love hockey, but it's the last thing I want to talk about today. It's just miserable. And
I just need to point that out before we move on.
No, you're right. And I have to disagree with you though. I'm rooting for the Canes next series.
I'm not saying I just breached the question. I'm hoping
on text you were like, dare I say I hate them more than the Rangers.
I said
maybe that was the emotion.
It was a question.
Okay.
But the Canes are right behind the Rangers.
They're a bunch of jerks, man. That's their slogan.
There you go.
And it's the atmosphere in that arena it's whack.
In terms of
Raleigh, compared to, Islander fans, to their credit, still bring it. Yeah, maybe it was just the audio on the feed, but it seemed like a library there. So,
well, hopefully that library gets fucking shut down sooner than later.
Yeah, and then we get Toronto, New York final, and
we're not going to like anything that we see.
No, we're not.
The Canes can.
Go Panthers.
Yeah, go Panthers.
Oh, cheers to that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Fuck off Kuznetsov and Seth Jarvis, especially a real punchable face.
Maybe
Jake Gunsel.
Go do some more cocaine, Kuznetsov.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how you didn't get suspended for that. Probably because you were Ovechkin's homeboy.
Yeah, Ovechkin got him off. Putin called it in.
No politics. No politics.
No, what?
All
Yeah,
right, so let's talk
the
about the
Knicks.
Knicks.
The Knicks. I mean, I don't need to tell you that Tom Thibodeau teams is playing its ass off, but it is right. But what's been so surprising about watching this team, and I guess because I haven't been, um, they could score. I mean, starting with Brunson, you're at least aware of what Brunson's been up to, right?
Yeah, I pay attention. Like Jalen Brunson is, becoming the guy that they thought he was going to be that everyone else wasn't sure he was going to be. And
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. And it's pretty much Villanova.
Fearless.
Villanova, New York now. So it's.
I know they did the Hart, DiFagenso, and Brunson connection, man. Especially last night, all hit big shots. Every time I look up, it looks like Josh Hart's hitting a big shot. Yeah, it's impressive. Adenabi's been great. Hartenstein's been great. I mean, it's a small rotation though. I think they're only like playing 7 guys a night. I don't know if that's going to hold up, but
it's playoff time. You gotta do.
Yeah, I guess gotta tighten up. But no, I just want to say it was a really entertaining series overall. It's just like really fun basketball. Like Maxey and Embiid played their asses off for Philly as well. It was just good. It was good fun, man. It was not like the 78 to 77 Knicks games from the 90s. It's quality basketball.
Well, that's awesome. I don't care for the Knicks. It seems to always be the Knicks are good when the Nets stink and vice versa.
Yeah.
So maybe one of these years we'll both be good at the same time and we can talk more about it on the show. And best of luck to them in the next round against Indiana. I think that is going to be a
Ty Halliburton and those guys. Obi Toppin.
Yeah, tough series. So all right, Doug, we're halfway through our show here. We got
we've talked about all the sports, so I guess we'll wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Oh, we forgot about football.
Is it Jets? Is it Jets time?
Jets and Giants.
Are we excited?
Well, I'm sad because we didn't get to do our mock draft. We had a show planned around it, and
I studied. I forgot everything already.
Well, I couldn't.
It's coming in cold again.
Get myself fucking healthy, man. It was just unbelievable, dude.
We weren't going to force you.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. How do you feel about the New York Giants' 2024 NFL draft? Take like your haul, and how do you feel about how they fit in, and where you think it's going to be, where you think these players are going to shake out, etc.
Yeah, man.
Like, where's your head at?
So when we were going to do that show, I didn't know what structure we had decided on, but if you had let me make that pick for the Giants at 5, that was my pick. I had in the last week or two before the draft, and I'd been on this show talking about Rome, right? Just because I thought he was maybe a little better built to handle kind of crappy quarterback play and at least make the catch. But I just kept reading about Malik Neighbors, and just his game breaking ability. Just kind of the full package. He's a little shorter than Rome, but yeah, whatever. This guy, it's gonna be like, injuries aside. I think he's a very safe pick and a very safe bet to be all pro level or better. I really do. I'm really excited about this pick. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and go ahead. I don't know if you want me to move on to.
So being at 6, no, I want to talk about 6 for a second. And the pick eventually was Malik Neighbors. You can't go wrong with Malik Neighbors.
Right.
The only, negative that I have about it is who's throwing him the ball this year. But your answer was we'll figure that out next year, right? So
we're not winning this year. Yeah.
Right. So that leads me to you had your ability to take JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix at that point in time, who ended up going 8 and 11, or even Bo Nix. Who
but Penix should not have gone 8. Come on.
I mean, I think so. The reason I think it was a weird pick from what we're used to in the current state of the NFL. I don't think it's a bad pick from a franchise point of view. If you think that's your QB of the future and he can have 2 years to sit and learn, and you're willing to put that draft capital
All right.
into him, I don't think it's the worst pick. I think
I guess you burn those rookie contract years, though, man. Right? Don't you want a guy playing?
I agree, and that's the new NFL, right? You want your quarterback on a cheap contract, but like if the goal is to win and to continue to win and have continuity, and they're okay with making that pick, it's fine. It's fine. Apparently, they were also trying to pick at 8 and come back at 10, and trying to buy the Jets pick for this year without giving. I don't know what they were going to give them, but I'm assuming it had to have been a second round pick and a bunch of 2025 capital, which I don't know why they would think the Jets would want to do that, knowing who their quarterback is. But we're getting off topic here. The only thing that I wanted to talk about is you passed on McCarthy at 6 when he was there. And I was of the ilk that Daniel Jones is not it. Do you feel like they are so thinking they found a diamond in the rough in Drew Lock?
No.
Or you just think that they don't like McCarthy, or they liked Neighbors so much that he was their guy?
Let's look at the whole picture. You signed this guy, Daniel Jones, last year to a 4-year contract. And you can't cut him this year without just getting murdered in the cap. So you have 1 more year with him. Yes, you signed Drew Lock because maybe you've heard already that Daniel Jones's neck is not good and his career's basically done already. I'm kind of feeding your argument for grabbing a quarterback there, but hold on. The Giants have I don't think you can argue going into the draft, the Giants had a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. Would you argue with that? They lost Saquon.
Close to it, sure.
They lost the X-Men. They lost Saquon over the offseason. We added Drew Lock in. Yes, we added Burns. But I mean, that wide receiver room was led by Slayton and Wandale, and our running backs, Devin Singletary. I feel like throwing J.J. McCarthy into that situation is just burning a year of his contract of that value. So if I think also that Brian Daboll is very, very good with quarterbacks, I think that's part of his reputation, right? So I'm actually not too worried about them getting at least decent value out of these 2 guys this year. I just didn't think it was the right spot to make that jump. I understand you've been in quarterback purgatory forever, Mike. I don't need to tell you. I definitely understand where you're coming from, but I think that locking Neighbors up, assuming he's bust proof, and I really, God forbid he is, God forbid he is a bust, right? Then none of this matters. But I really think that's a cornerstone piece that you can build around. Every offense needs a Jamar Chase. Let's hope he's something like that. And you go from there. I mean, that can make your quarterback a lot better, right? Having a guy just to break open a game. And we haven't had that since Odell. So that's why overall I wanted the receiver over a quarterback. I think I can see both sides though, for sure. It comes down to, did they like McCarthy? Do we even know?
I mean,
I guess we'll never know.
I gotta assume they didn't, right? Or they like Neighbors
right.
more. But like, I think when you're on the clock at 6, there's a consensus top 10 guy available, and you don't pick him. It's because you didn't like him, right? Because you definitely needed a quarterback.
Well, the consensus top 10 guy went 11, right? And
what I'm saying
there was a lot, like how much of that was noise pre-draft, pumping that dude's value up? You never know with that crap.
Dude, quarterbacks are always selected way higher than they probably deserve to be because of the need to get it right. And it
seemed like McCarthy dropped this year, which says more about him, I think. That's what I'm saying.
I'm agreeing with you. I guess my point is they didn't like him enough to take him. If I was the Giants,
definitely didn't like him enough,
and I was choosing between a receiver and a quarterback, I would take the quarterback.
Well, yeah, all things equal, sure.
Yeah,
but I think they think think Neighbors is special too. It's not just me. So, um,
Yeah,
what was I
Malik
going to say?
Neighbors has
Is
definitely got.
JJ going to beat out Sam Darnold, or is Sam Darnold is JJ sitting too? What do you think?
I think I think JJ McCarthy is going to beat out Sam Darnold. I don't think that's going to be too difficult. Sam Darnold has never completed 50 more than 58% of his passes in a season. I don't think he's ever topped like 13 or 14 touchdowns in a season. So
He's
I
never
think
had
JJ
Justin
McCarthy.
Jefferson either.
Yeah, but his like the problem with Sam Darnold that everyone has with him is that his throws are always very off target.
Yeah,
He's not super accurate. He's got like a good arm and he's got the intangibles to like move around the pocket, but he doesn't sense pressure well. He holds onto the ball too long, and his accuracy is like really average to below average. And
yeah.
so
Which was some of the knocks on Drake May there too. Huh? Same
I
kind of.
think I think Drake May got prospect fatigue. I think May was talked about as like the number one pick going into this year, or the number
He
two pick
was.
behind Caleb going into this year. Jaden Daniels just had such a great year that he showed, that multifaceted uh, dual threat, and it's just pick. It's what do you want? Do you want the like pocket passer, or do you want the guy that can get out and make plays with his legs? And I think Washington has more of an appetite for a running quarterback. And I think, the Patriots were willing to take the pocket passer. They obviously had good success with that in their past as well. So I don't think Drake May is. I don't think he's in the. I think he's in the worst situation out of all of them. I think he's got
Yeah,
nothing, and he's got a bunch
nothing.
of rookies, and so they're either going to gel and take their lumps together and then be good in 2 to 3 years, or there's going to be a lot of failure there. I'm not real encouraged by their coaching staff. That doesn't scream like anything great to me, but who knows? They're kind of rookies too, so it's a lot. It's
They
a
kind of have a
reminder.
decade of irrelevance coming to them. I hope it happens.
I
I'm a
mean,
hater.
me more than anybody. So yeah.
Yeah.
So what about
Yeah.
besides
So
Neighbors?
besides
Who
that,
else made you
yeah,
excited about draft day?
I'm happy with what they did. The safety was a need, and they jumped up and got who most people agree was the number one guy out there
Nice.
in Newbin, and seems like he'll start right away next to. See what happens when you make me do a Friday show. I'm forgetting our lovely Pinnock, and and then they needed a cornerback though. I was wondering because there were a lot in the draft this year, but there's mad run on the cornerbacks in the first and early seconds. So they ended up with Andrew Phillips from Kentucky, and he seemed like kind of one of the last guys on that tier remaining. So I can't hate on it. I can't tell you I've seen him play. I read a few lines about him before the draft, so I at least heard of him. But I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad I'm happy with the Giants draft. I'll put it that way, because it's
What
always
do you,
like God. It's 4 months of silliness, right?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think of Tyrone Tracy?
Theo.
Theo
Oh,
Johnson too. Yeah, let's talk about those two
oh
guys.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
those.
they're both kind of projects. I like the Tracy idea. He's like another kind of game breaker guy, right? Possibly. I don't know how they're going to use him, but it's a Dable offense, right? And Singletary needs help. Gary Brightwell
Definitely.
and Corbin and all the other guys. I think we have Deion Jackson now. Those aren't good
You
NFL
have
running backs.
Eric Gray. Yeah, I looked
Eric
at.
Ray.
I just recently traded for Singletary in our dynasty league, and
That's a decent move, actually. I didn't realize he was available.
when I
So
went to look back at who his backups were, I was like,
yeah,
I looked at
that those names.
Eric Gray had like 17 carries last year. Brightwell had like 21. Like between the three of
It's
them,
awful.
it was under 50 carries total
Yeah.
between the three guys that are on the roster that played for the Giants last year. And I was like, wow, like there's literally this Tyrone Tracy guy who has a chance to, play. I think he's going to have a chance to play behind Singletary because there's going to be some carries, but there's just not a lot of competition. And I was like, well,
No, I
this
mean
guy's
he's got
going
to
to get
work his way through.
250. Yeah, if he stays healthy,
He's
he's
got
going
to
to
work
get
his way through
250
camp.
carries next year. So
I know, and honestly, like they kind of need another running back, right? Who knows? But that's kind of an easy position, not an easy position, but you know what I mean. That's
Yeah,
fillable.
one of those guys could
Um,
step up and turn into something.
yeah,
Just
maybe
give
Gray does.
more.
He was invisible year one. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
so yeah, and we got a project tight end from Penn
do you
State.
think he's
We'll
going to be a
see.
project though? Because apparently Waller is retired, right? So if Waller is
Yeah,
retired, does that mean that Theo Johnson's got a chance to compete against?
yeah. I mean, I hope the kid can play. He was steadily improved in college. He's got the tools. I think he's
He's got the
converted
best
wide receiver
tools.
though. The
He's got the
tools got the
best
best.
tools of any of the tight ends. From a speed, height, jumping ability,
More
all
than
that stuff.
Bowers.
He ran better. He ran the fastest 40 time for a tight end. I think he had like one of the highest, like whatever the high jump or whatever the fuck
Yeah,
that they call that
vertical.
thing. So vertical. There you go. So
We're
it's
gonna
some stuff to be
gonna get a
excited
refill.
about. There you go. I like it.
Yeah, man. Look, we've always known that this wasn't going to be turned around in a year by Joe Shane. Was this his second draft, third draft? They're going to have to start answering for their picks this year, I think. But realistically, I think the Giants did what they had to do. Quarterback thing aside, I think they would. You think they would have taken Drake May? I guess they would have.
Well, they apparently
And
made a huge
maybe that was
offer.
the line, like the top three, and that was it.
They made a huge offer to go up to number 3 to get him, and New England said no. You've
Yeah,
heard that
no
incorrect.
thanks. Everybody was trying to get up there, so
Yeah, they offered their one this year, and I want to say they offered their one next year.
And I forgot to mention that. That's actually a big part of why I didn't want to trade up. Obviously, again, roster's not ready to be dealing away potentially high first rounders. That would have pissed me off.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to wait till next year and see who comes out of that class. There's quite a few.
I know.
QBs
Hey,
that are on
maybe Kirk Cousins will be free.
You never know. You never know.
Michael Penix.
That's another thing. Penix outplays him, and you got this, high-end QB that you could trade for something. So we'll see how that shakes out, right?
Maybe the Russ tour stops in New York next, as you mentioned a few episodes back.
It wouldn't have been a bad
Please
signing,
no.
I don't think. But it would have been a bad place for him to be. But that's a whole other story.
No, this wasn't realistic.
Yeah, man. So okay. Well,
so yeah, talk to us about the Jets, dude.
I think it was. We were all hoping that the Bears didn't take Odunze at 9, and I think that would have been our pick.
So close.
I think we tried to go up to 8, and that's how we found out the Falcons wanted to stick at 8 and also trade for 10. And I think we got some free picks from the Vikings to move back one. Hey, the Broncos and the Raiders are calling. Do you want to move up? Oh, we'll make it cheap for you. Okay, here's a 4th and a 5th. Cool. And so we took Olu Fashanu, the left tackle out of Penn State. It was not the sexy pick. It was, it wasn't Brock Bowers, which I think would have been the sexy pick. It wasn't Rome Odunze because he was off the board, and we got the very practical pick. We took the 10-year, hopefully, left tackle that doesn't have any weight issues. He doesn't have any off-field issues. He's a really, really good kid by all means. Tyron Smith is his hero, so he gets to learn from his hero, which is pretty cool.
I didn't see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's a fucking gentle giant. He's 6'6", 315. He's a beast. He's a beast. He's got small hands. That's the only thing. No left tackle has ever been good with hands that small. He's got 8.5-inch hands, but he's apparently a tactician. He was Caleb Williams' left tackle in high school, went to Penn State, and was, a 2-year starter over the last 2 years. Made all American. I don't know what the fuck. All the Heisman of the smart Heisman, whatever that's called. So he's really intelligent. I think he's going to be a sponge. I think it's it's not ideal that 2 years in a row our first round pick is going to sit and not play right away, but I think it's going to be to our benefit, 2 years from now. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be here in 2 years? I think he'll be here next year as well as this year. So that's what I'm saying, 2 years. But it wasn't the sexy pick. But I'm glad we did it. We have insurance. The offensive line has tanked our season the last 2 years. And
that's all we've been talking about since we started the show is your line. So
so hopefully we can stay
can't
healthy.
fault it.
And even if Smith goes down, Fashanu can step in and hopefully fill in admirably. Guy never let up a sack in all of college. Only gave up like 10 pressures. And he was playing in.
I love college stats. That's great.
I mean, they're ridiculous, but still, I mean, there's something to be said. Like no sacks ever.
Right.
Like that's pretty impressive. So whether it's
like I remember the time, I can't remember this guy. I think his name was Williams or something, but the Giants drafted a running back about 10 years ago that somehow managed to never catch a pass, like in his last season. I'm like, how was that possible?
I don't remember who that is, but awesome.
Yeah. And we were actually like excited about him for a second. It was
you always get
beginning of the decline.
You always get excited on draft day because all these guys, there's no like story. All you have is like hope. So that's what's cool about draft day.
And there's so many puff pieces, right? And
of course,
yeah, it's great.
Like you said, Super Bowl ends like February 1st, and then you're waiting till the end of April to do this. So you have this whole buildup. You have like the combine, and then free agency, and then you fucking have this long drawn out like pro days and top 30 visits, and all these people and all this noise, and like these writers have to write shit, and it's crammed down your throat.
Oh no, and if you're a fan of a bad team, you're already talking about it in like November,
right.
So
that's my
which
yeah,
I think you should raise your hand too.
Oh yeah,
fans of bad teams. I think we're gonna change our name. Let's change it. Fans of bad teams.
Fans of bad teams.
Club.
But then there's there's no
I know
fun to that. But we got this wide receiver in the third round, Corley.
You got my Yak King. Gonna draft in the first round of our dynasty league, man.
I hope so. We'll get into that in a second. But he brings a lot to the table. What they were talking about, excitement of drafting Bowers. He's he's a smaller guy, but he's a power slot. He's gonna catch the ball and do a lot of what Debo does. A lot of motion, run you over, run through you. Not gonna try and be a finesse guy. He needs some work on his route running, but he's a tough guy and he likes contact. And he's about 5'11", like 220. He's built like a running back. So he likes to get the ball and barrel over the corners and safeties trying to tackle him.
Oh,
so I'm excited for that kid. I hope that kid
great name too.
Yeah, I hope he can stay healthy.
All right. I have a question on the draft overall, and I'll save it if you're still talking about the Jets. Sorry.
No, we don't have to talk about anybody else. Everything else was cool.
Okay.
Quo. So what you got? What you got about the Jets?
Any thoughts on you guys traded out who'd you ship out? Guy on the D line.
John Franklin Myers.
Yeah. Just you guys are stacked, so you just had to move him out.
In my opinion, when we brought in Hassan Reddick, he's going to start on one side. Jermaine Johnson's going to start on the other side. He wasn't going to be a starter anymore. He was going to be a good depth piece, and he was making like $16 million this year.
Yeah, fair enough.
We need every dollar that we can get for the cap this year. It was unfortunately a cap move. We offered him a pay cut. He did not like the amount of money we offered him, so he wanted to seek a trade. We let him have his opportunity to go seek a trade, and Denver offered a trade for him for a 6th-round pick in 2026. I think it was a shit return, but I also think that
kind of is in the NFL.
Yeah,
always.
I think it was he had to sign a new 2-year deal with guaranteed money in Denver. That has a cost to it, and for us we weren't trading him because he's bad. We were trading him because we can't afford him, and Denver knows that. So, at that point, we probably should have tried to renegotiate with him earlier in the offseason, but we probably didn't know we were getting Hassan Reddick. So there
Yeah,
was like a lot of dominoes that happened. We got Hassan Reddick
it's just
pretty late in the
business.
game. It was just business. They love him, but they signed a couple of undrafted free agents that are built in his mold, and I think we're going to be just fine. Our D line was a place of strength, and we had a lot of money tied up in it, and we really needed to move on. And that was probably the guy that unfortunately had to go. And he had a lot of production last year. I mean, he had 50. Let's say he had 50 pressures, or he had a couple quarterback. He had a bunch of quarterback hits. Like he was definitely a good edge setter that
It's
would
a factor.
push inside on passing downs. Very versatile. They got a guy named Michael Clemens. They think can probably fill that role. I don't think he's going to be able to do it as well, but he's definitely cheaper. And they have Will McDonald, who was their number one pick last year, who's our edge rusher. Yeah. So I think it's a way to get him on the field more.
Yeah, it's time for him to step in anyway. So cool. And you mentioned the Denver Broncos, so that's a good segue for the question I was thinking of earlier. And what was the pick you hated the worst in the first round? I mean, we already talked about Penix, but fire away if you need to.
The pick I hated the most in the first round. I mean,
maybe I gave away mine. I thought Bo Nix went too high, but we'll see.
I agree with you. I think we both can be consensus on that. I think that Denver's in fucking purgatory right now. There's
I like what the last since Peyton left, they've been flailing.
Yes,
like they're bouncing around, they're pinballing, they're spiraling, whatever you want to call it.
Since the year that I moved from New York to California, so they're not far behind the Jets. Yeah, they have been bad. They have been bad since Peyton.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, Bo Nix, did he find the perfect landing spot? Yes. For his talents, was the 12th pick way too high? Absolutely. But the problem again is that we overvalue quarterbacks. You had the Raiders picking right behind you, and they need a quarterback too. So
yeah, and everybody's yelling at them for not. So you're damned either way. I get it.
Right. So what? I don't know. What do you do? So he I think he figured. I got Zach Wilson and Jared Stidham right now. Like if I don't take Bo Nix, I'm fucking going into the season with these two assholes. Maybe Zach Wilson I can turn into a project and turn him into something where he's decent, but Jared Stidham has never been able to get on the field and stay on the field in the NFL. I don't even think he was very good in college. Bo Nix was highly productive in college. He's 24 years old. He's played.
Right. He is a little more advanced.
I think he can understand an offense and how it runs. And I think that Sean Payton likes to do the same shit that Bo Nix is good at. So maybe it's a match made in heaven. Maybe he comes out.
Yeah, it fits the system, huh? And I saw they grabbed Franklin, right? Who Bo Nix used to throw to. So
yep, they got Troy Franklin in the 4th round, which that guy fell far. I was very.
I know, right?
He was supposed to be end of the 1st round, somewhere in the 2nd. He didn't go all the way until the top of the 4th. So that was pretty crazy in my estimation. Your brother has chimed in and said hello.
What's up, dude? You drinking a mule too?
Are you drinking a mule too? So speaking of all that,
why aren't you?
Let's talk a little Dynasty Fantasy. Are you excited for the upcoming draft?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited to be picking right after a tier, as usual. So, yeah. When do you pick in the 1st round? Are you after me?
Right after you. So, share no secrets if you prefer.
I don't know what I'm doing yet anyway. Look, it's an interesting crop this year, right? Because there's really, running back is maybe something you don't want to jump at this year. Maybe you do. I don't know. But obviously the guys at the top of the draft are going to have fun. I forget who those are. No one ever talks about the picks at the top of the draft, so I wonder. Anyway,
we don't have a friend.
no one ever brings it up. I'm kidding, Josh. I love you. And by the way, come on our show, dude. I guess that was Mike's fault. He was supposed to be on last week, everyone.
That was my fault. We'll get
yeah, man, I don't know. Like, what are we going to have drop down to us? Like a quarterback or two, maybe? A Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure I've got the top 5 nailed. So it's going to depend on what Jed does at 6 and then you. So yeah. I'm pretty sure, the top 3 receivers of the class will be gone. I'm pretty sure that Caleb Williams will be gone, and I'm pretty sure that Brock Bowers will be gone.
Right. It seems logical. And then who's going to jump at Daniels? Who's going to jump at May?
I don't think Jed's going to take a quarterback because he took Richardson.
He took Richardson last year, yeah.
So
he did.
That's
occurred to me.
That's a possibility for you to take Daniels.
There's
also whatever. I don't know. Maybe Jed will take a running back. I think 6 would be early to take a running back. I think there's Xavier Worthy, there's Brian Thomas, and then you talk Coleman, you talk.
The Coleman is going to probably. Coleman was like the best landing spot, right?
Yes.
Of that crop. Although Thomas in Jacksonville is kind of cool.
Thomas in Jacksonville, he'll be the number 2. He'll fill the Ridley role. Keon Coleman's going to be the number 1 in Buffalo right off the
Pretty
bat.
much, right?
And Leggett
by
has
default.
a chance. He'll be the number 2 this year, but he's got a chance to become the 1 in short order.
And I liked him as a prospect. Leggett, you said, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Have you heard either of Leggett or Keon Coleman's interviews since the draft?
No.
Oh, dude, you need to go down a rabbit hole of Xavier Leggett interviews, and then you need to go down a rabbit hole of Keon Coleman interviews. Keon Coleman is very entertaining. He's a really funny kid, and he's just really like comfortable in his own skin. And it's
they're gonna love him in Buffalo then, huh?
It's really refreshing. The kid is
nice.
He's kind of funny. And, he doesn't take himself too seriously, but he's real.
Yeah, you're talking me into drafting him, aren't you?
I'm not. Dude, he's my favorite player right now as a human coming out of this draft just because he's so likable. And I don't, you don't say that very often about athletes, right? And
I never say that.
Right. And so like go down a couple of clips on Keon Coleman when you get a moment. And then Xavier Leggett, dude, he has the thickest Southern accent you've heard in a long time. And I just watch a couple of his interviews. You'll be like, what? I'm trying to figure out what he just said.
Which kind of Southern accent?
Like South Carolina, Carolina. Yes.
All right.
So
what's that guy's name? Oh, God, he used to coach the Spurs. Avery Johnson. Is it like that accent or is it
worse? Yes. So enjoy that.
Hey John, are you in the shed? John built himself a shed. He's awful proud of it. I'm awful proud of him.
I mean, that's what you do when you get married. You build sheds.
Yeah. You build a shed. No, and he's got the whole setup. Like he's got the workstation jerk station set up, and there's no toilet in there though. Yeah.
And when you live in Texas, you don't need indoor plumbing. That's for
Get Douglas, yourself a proper outhouse, son.
It's been a great show, Douglas. I would like to do this more often and frequently. My travel schedule is now pretty non-existent for the next few months. So.
Oh, really? It's silly season for me. Okay.
Okay. Well.
But yeah, let's figure some out. We'll do a midweek show if you want, whenever you want. But yeah, it's great to have you back, man. Who are we going to Vio con Dios? I was going to call out like Jerry Grody and Carl Erskine and all the old timers that passed away in the last month, but
there you go.
Whitey Herzog. I used to hate that guy, man. Well, Whitey was the manager of the evil Cardinals, right? Who would just steal on Gary Carter all day.
All day.
There were our division rivals back when the Cardinals, back when there were two divisions. I am so old. So anyway, but yeah, Jerry Grody's an all-time Met, badass catcher. Original Brooklyn Dodger died. So shout out to Norm, Carl Erskine. Who am I forgetting, man?
I met Carl Erskine once.
Yeah, you met him. That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Very nice guy.
So
cool.
Yeah, I feel like we're shaking the rust off here. We'll come back stronger next week, right?
Goddamn right. Start talking about fantasy football drafts because you guys all care.
Oh yeah, that's what you guys want.
Can't wait. All right. Well, it's been great, audience. Until next time.
Woo
woo.
I don't know what that was.
Awesome. That was good, man.